Hi everyone, and welcome to our Year 3 English lesson 18. So today, for the final English lesson for this week, tomorrow you'll have a reading comprehension to do. For our English lesson for this week, we're going to be building our problems. So we're event building for today. So you'll see we've got a sheet here. This is called our event building planning sheet. If you've got a take-home pack, it'll have that in it. If you're working online, that document will be up on the OneNote or will have been emailed to you. We have our rising actions that we're going to be looking at, our main problem, which might sort of describe some of these as well, but our main problem, and then our falling actions, which ultimately leads to our resolution of our story. So for today's lesson, I am using this to refer to. This should all be up there as well. So this is just our narrative plot hill, I called it. So it's our structure for our narrative. We have our orientation, we have our rising actions leading up to our biggest part in the problem. And then we have our falling actions, which are these solutions that are falling into place for our resolution, where our story has been resolved or our problem has been resolved in our story. For me, I already know that this is where I'm going to see that change in my characters. Up here and down here is where I'll see those two conflicting personalities between my characters there. All right, as well as that, I've also got all my previous work from this week to look through if I need. So I've got my mind map that I did at the start of the week. I've got my characters, my character planning sheets, and my setting planning sheet. So I've got these to use in case I want to refer back to them. Excellent. Okay, so now I already have a pretty good idea about this based on my other planning that I've done. I've also written in here that they are going to start off the story not as friends. So I need to have some rising actions there that are coming up to a big problem that might happen because they're not friends. So I need to have a think of what are some things that might happen between these two characters. So I've got Benji, who's living at this house in this yard. He might not be, I'm actually going to put that Benji does leave the yard, and because dogs escape all the time, they get out of their fences and they go exploring and then they come back sometimes. So I'm going to have that. That's something that Benji does quite a lot. So my first action is going to be, my first rising action is Benji chases after a rabbit. I'm going to have to write a bit smaller. That runs off into the forest. And then I'm going to have that Roger also sees the rabbit. Chases after it. But collides, so that means he collides with Benji. Terrific. Okay, so that is my first thing that happens. My next rising action is going to be that Benji goes home, but Roger follows him and wants to play. Okay, the next thing, the rising action that you don't have to use all three rising actions. I do because it'll work well into my main problem. So my next rising action is going to be that Roger sneaks into Benji's yard at night. And the big problem is going to be that Benji hears an intruder, because he's protective, an intruder in his yard. He protects his yard by investigating and ends up knocking Roger to the ground. Alright, and that was our big problem. And I'm going to put there, Roger. Actually, no, I'm going to leave that because I'm going to put it here. So Roger tells Benji he just wants to play. So this is leading up to our resolution. And then our second falling action is that the next day Roger comes back with a ball. Oh, actually no, I'm going to change that to a stick because he's living out in the forest and I feel like Roger would more come back with a stick to play with rather than a ball, because he might not have a ball living out in the forest. So the next day Roger comes back with a stick to play with Benji. So the resolution ends up being they both enjoy playing together. Have things in common. And become best friends. Now, obviously, this isn't my whole story. This is just some key parts for the different points in my story. Like this bit here, the next day, Roger comes back with a stick to play with Benji. I haven't put it all about how Benji responds to that in there. And even when Roger tells Benji he just wants to play, I haven't put how Benji responds to that either, or what might happen. You don't know whether Roger goes away and then comes back. I've got that he does come back the next day, but I haven't said what's happened after this bit. So this is just a brief overview of what my basic story outline is going to look like. When it comes to writing, I'll obviously need to have a lot more detail than just what's on this planner, but this will help guide my thoughts when I am doing my writing next week. So make sure that you finish this off, go and do it for your own. Take a picture or upload any of your work so that the teachers can give you some feedback, because next week we're going to start drafting our own imaginative narrative stories based on the theme of friendship. If you've got any questions, make sure you get in contact with one of your teachers so that they can help you